All right, so let's continue with the Zero Trust supported with Microsoft Solutions journey. This is going to be one of the last videos that we're going to create for now. So we have covered a lot of material, right? So we went over identities, the first pillar, endpoints, the second pillar, applications, the third pillar, data, infrastructure, network, the sixth pillar. But then all of this, right? We talked a lot about conditional access and policy enforcement. So all of this is continuous. There is continued risk assessment and automation, and also there's some threat intelligence and telemetry. So let's talk a little bit about this, right? Um, I am CEO Rodriguez, and as always, let's go back into the portal to take a look at how these things work. So now the all of these things are done automatically in the background, and obviously there are certain things that you can do as well. But when we're talking about identities, and actually before I go into the demo itself, when we talk about Microsoft Entra ID protection, um, Entra ID continuously evaluates user sign-ins and accounts for risky signals like impossible travel or leaked credentials or unfamiliar sign-in properties, for example. You can automate remediation by enforcing, for example, conditional access policies. Like when we saw over there, we can require MFA, right? When someone is connecting, from a specific location, or we could block risky sign in with condition. This is automation, right? In terms of the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint or MDE that we have talked about, MDE performs real-time risk assessment of devices, the health of the device, the compliance of the device, the vulnerabilities of the software on those devices. You could also create automates response through what is called automated investigation and remediation, or um, IR, AR, isolating, for example, devices or killing malicious processes. You could do all that stuff. In terms of the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, or MCAS, that we saw, it continuously monitors cloud apps and usage for anomalies in shadow IT. It automates enforcement with section controls and block downloads, limit sharing, and all that kind of stuff. We saw DLP policies with Microsoft Purview. So Microsoft Purview continuously inspects data in use, in motion, and at rest, right? It automates also actions like blocking, alerting, or requiring justification when sensitive data is accessed or shared. When it comes to Microsoft Sentinel, which is a SIEM and SOAR, right? It ingests logs and telemetry across identity, endpoint, apps, infrastructure. You could also automate responses via playbooks using logic apps, such as, for example, disabling accounts when something happens, or sending alerts, or quarantining devices, right? And Defender for Cloud, as you saw, continuously assess cloud workloads against compliance and best practices, and also automates remediation with Azure Policy and network automation, for example. Let's take a look at a demo or an interactive guide about Azure Policy and how we can use Azure Policy for this kind of things, right? So this is so what we're going to do in this lab is to create an Azure policy, right? And then we're going to restrict deployment of Azure resources. There are hundreds of things that you can automatically that you can do with Azure policy. So for compliance, Azure policy is a key component of zero trust with Microsoft solutions, right? So let's take a look at
This
this.
exercise is
We are
made up of
going
three
to
tasks.
um, task one, create a policy assignment. We are going to test allow location policy, and then we're going to delete the policy assignment. So that's basically what we're going to do. So in the first task, we're going to create this policy. If we go to all services, as always, and we look for policy, we're going to go to Azure policy. And again, this is not an Azure class. So I'm not going to spend too much time, talking about what these things are. So we're just going to stop and talk about the security feature, uh, you know, uh, related to uh, security and zero trust. So if we go to definitions, right? Um, let's take a moment to review the list or built-in policy definitions that you can filter, that you can see in Azure. So if we click on this category, I'm going to deselect this. But let's say that we want to look at the compute category, right? And so these are the kind of things, right? We can audit virtual machines without a certain piece of software. Like in this case, um, we could actually, instead of reading those things, let's actually go ahead and do some of these things. But um, we are going to click allow virtual machine size, for example. So here is a policy, right? Allow virtual machine size queues. Let's say that you want to use a specific machine size or you want to restrict, for example. This is a policy that you can use. You can configure this any way you want, but this is a policy that you can use to do that kind of stuff, right? Um, if we go to assignments, then basically what it is, you would take the policy, you would click on assign. You have to choose a subscription, right, and a resource group, and you're going to choose the so here are some policies that you could do. For example, you could audit virtual machines without disaster recovery configure. Let's say that you want to make sure that all virtual machines, all servers are configured for disaster recovery. Well, you can create a policy to do that automatically, right? You want to for example, create a policy for vulnerability assessment that should be enabled on your CNATS workspace. Well, you can do that over here. You have a policy for SQL integration services runtimes on Azure Data Factory. And let's say that this should be joined to a virtual network. You can do that as well. So there's so many policies. If we look at locations, this is a very popular one, right? Um, for example, allow locations. One of the things is that you may have, if you don't close this, people may come in and they may create, imagine a malicious user, whether internal or somebody get access to your stuff, and they create a virtual machine in another country or whatever, they are inside your virtual environment, or even for cost purposes, even for compliance, right? You may want to limit the locations where those, because remember, we are talking about Azure, it's global, it's all over the world. You can create virtual machines anywhere, right? So you want to control this thing. So if I click on allow locations and I click on select, right? So that's the policy that I want. If we look at the parameters, um, so what I want to do is, in this case, well, all right, I only want machines in Japan West or not, right? Depending on what it is. So obviously you can choose anything, any location, but it is as simple as that, right? So the allow locations policy assignment is now listed on the policy assignments pane, and it is in place, enforcing the policy at the subscription level. So again, any machine at that subscription, that policy will be enforced. Okay, simple as that. Now let's test the policy. So if we click on it and we go to the menu, and we're going to go to storage account, and we're going to try to create a storage account, right? I'm not going to go over these details as usual. Let's just take a look at the um, okay, but actually it says right there policy violation. Well, that's because they had tried to do that some of those things over there. But let's say that we want to create that, okay, and that's it. Validation failed. Required information is missing. Now, if we go back to the basics, or actually what we need to do, so we try to create US East, and that's why, we got that error there. But if we click on the one that it's allowed, then you have no problem. Then you are able to create a storage account in Japan West because that is allowed, right? So yes, so Azure Policy is a very powerful tool, um, for cybersecurity, for compliance, for a number of things. Okay, and again, this is one of those things that if you are in Azure, that you would use a lot. Obviously, AWS, have things similar to that, and stuff like that. But a very important thing. Now, if we want to delete this assignment, we just basically, let's say that we change our mind and that's not what we want to do. We can look at this assignment and the policy, click on it, delete it, and then now that's gone from the environment. Okay. So again, this is a very simple example. There are tons of things in Azure Policy that we can use to do this kind of things. All right. So and then that's it. Now that's one thing over there. All the things that now let's go back into the Microsoft Defender portal. And one of the things that we have talked a lot here, it's about threat intelligence. Microsoft Defender has this threat analytics, where basically there's a number of things over here, right? Microsoft tracks and follows, for example, attack campaigns right now, and this is in real time. So there are 377 attack campaigns. There's a lot of going on right now. You can see that right there, right? So there are a lot of attacks going on right now, and all of this is in part due to AI. It is so easy. You could a couple of weeks ago somebody created an agent and hacked a lot of companies. So you could automate this thing. So um, cybersecurity, it's really in bad shape, mainly because of AI. All right. So now more than ever, you need sophisticated solutions to be able to, mitigate this, to combat all these threats. And again, nothing better than, to be honest with you, than Microsoft solutions. Anyway, so there's 178 tools and techniques, and there are 260 activity groups, right? That Microsoft is tracking. There's 158 vulnerability. When I'm talking vulnerabilities, I'm talking about really big stuff, things that would allow those people to get in, right? I'm not talking about like, oh, this low thing vulnerability. And um, attack surfaces. Again, some of these things is based on threat worldwide. Some of the things is correlated with my environment, right? So attack surface, they're talking about stuff that it's in my environment that are attack surfaces. So let's take a look at those things. Um, so let's take a look at some of the things. So here we have the latest threats. We got different actors. Here you can see, for example, if any of these threats are actually inside, if something is going on inside my environment, I would see that. So 0 that means that yes, there's a lot of threats, there's a lot of stuff going on, but nothing is happening to me now, right? At least. Um, so that's a good thing. But there's a lot of information. You can click on any of these to get more information about that specific thing, whether it is a threat actor or whatever. This is an overview. This is the number of incidents. Nothing's going on. This is an analyst report about what's going on with this threat actor, related incidents. So if there is any related incident to that threat in my environment, that would come over here. This is really great. And then you can see the impacted access. Um, I was working at a company recently, and there was a big vulnerability, a big high impact to Microsoft SharePoint, right? SharePoint 2016 and 2019. And basically, I came over here and I found that the we were not being uh, compromised, right? There was nothing really going, but we had the vulnerability. And I was able to come over here, I identified the servers, I communicated with the IT department, and then they went ahead and updated those servers, right? So this is the kind of things that threat intelligence allows you to do. If you know the endpoints exposure, if you have any, and then any recommendations you can do that with. So threat analytics and Intel management, in the Intel profile, there's a lot of stuff over here. This is really, really important there. That, and one of those things that you need to cover. Um, so another thing, what else? We talk about so another feature I wanted to cover here is the continuous risk assessment. So if you do have, let's take a look at the endpoints, and if you go to vulnerability management, so again, Microsoft also has vulnerability management with your software. Well, so here it found that I have a couple of software that I need to work with. So one of them is really high. This update Oracle JRE. Well, I have something there that is using this Oracle JRE that I need to update, right? And oh, this is related to because this is a virtual machine using a virtual box. That's what this is about. So I need to update that, right? Um, and if you look at so the exposure score, so this is 60 out of 100. Well, is it a passing score? Barely, right? So there's a lot of improvement that I can do here. Now, when it comes to the Microsoft Secure Score for devices, this is the exposure score, which this score reflects the current exposure associated with devices in your organization, and the score is potentially impacted by active, exceptions, stuff like that. Now, if you want to look at the whole, so here's the score for application, the score for the operating system, the network score. So you get a score. So these are like those pillars that we were talking about, right? Well, some of them, right? But again, this is a lot of stuff over here that I don't have many things because I have only one device, and this is recently, um, if you have any remediation activity, that would be here. You can click here to see on the stuff on how to improve the score. We're not gonna go over these things, but anyway, so if you have any recommendation, then and this is continuously being done automatically, right? So you have some stuff that you should take care of. Now, obviously, I would look at you know the important things over here. Come on, I don't want to resize. Yeah, some of this page. All right. So again, so in the remediation task over here, if I had any, they would be over here. Any remediation tasks, they should have an owner. If something is okay, you don't want to remediate it, you can put in exceptions. If we go to inventories, this is the inventory of software that it's installed in my environment. So this is a small lab environment, but I have, you know, 35 pieces of software, right? And so here I can create a report with all the software that is installed in my company and see what's going on, right? So again, this is really great stuff. These are all tools that I have in my environment, that kind of stuff. So you can go to weaknesses. This is going to give you a list of those weaknesses again. Um, so again, tons of stuff. So if I look at the higher things, if I look at I could, as I told you, I could filter. So let's say that I don't want noise, or I want to concentrate in critical, medium, and high. High, medium. Actually, let me just concentrate in critical and high for now, because I really want to concentrate in the things that really matter. Well, actually, um, so I have a lot of stuff that but again, this is a lab. don't really care that much. But let's take, I don't have anything critical. Let's take a look at this, see what's going on over here. Um, this is CVE 2020. Wow, this is relatively new, 2025, 55. What is this? Here is information about what that is. But what I really want to see, this is the score, the CVS version is 3. And what is this? I don't see what's the score? Well, it's high, so it's around the 9 if it's high. Oh, actually, it's only 7 point. Yeah, 9 is critical. This is 7.8. It still is high. But if this is the really things that it's important here. Now, obviously, I only have one device, so that's what's going to say. But here you can see um, the exposed devices, right? And also you want to see what is the affected software, what is causing this. All of this software is affected by that. So by uh, up, updating Wireshark, basically I would solve all these issues. So I have Wireshark and a version that is, vulnerable. Not that something it's crazy that that I'm being breached, but again, those are the things. So vulnerability management is a key component. And again, this is just um, some very tiny, simple things of all the stuff that I can do within the continuous risk assessment and automation piece, and also the threat intelligence and telemetry. When it comes to telemetry, we're talking about the logs and the things that all of the Microsoft Azure MDE gives you a lot of telemetry. So again, we talked about that. I'm not going to go more detail, but these are the main videos. Now Zero Trust is huge, and I will be expanding and creating more videos, um, especially on the how in the future. But for now, this series is like about 10 videos that will give you a really rundown about Zero Trust, especially how to start the journey, right? Which you have to start here. We talked about that. How to start the journey to Zero Trust supported with Microsoft Solutions. As always, thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, like my content if you like my content. This would, means a lot to me, and that way I can continue producing, this free videos. Well, thank you, and I hope that you continue. I will update my channel regularly, so that's why subscription is so important. Hope to see you next.